rely on camouflage to protect themselves. Now a couple of animals greatness here. I'm gonna start with what we can see on our left. These are saddle-billed stork. Now saddle-billed stork don't have any vocal cords, so when these do want to communicate with one another, they just rattle their bills at each other and somehow they know what they're saying. And we do have one male and one female out here on the reserve. You can always tell them apart just by looking at the color of their eyes. Males always have brown eyes and females always have yellow eyes. Copy over there on our right, a couple of them. Mispike copies, horse-like body, and zebra-like print on their hind legs are actually the closest living relative of giraffe. Both okapi and giraffe have a similar skull structure. They both also have these really long prehensile tongues. Prehensile means finger-like. So for those animals, their tongue basically acts like our finger, and mostly they just use it to help them grab any native vegetation off a tree, just like those okapi are doing then. It's actually mom and baby okapi up there. The younger one is less than a year old right now, and he's getting so big so quick. Coming up here on our left is a watering hole, which is a very popular gathering spot for animals. Sometimes, if we're lucky, we do see some of the rarest animals over here, but at the very least, it'll explain why we've seen the okapi and stork so close by. It's a good sign there might just be other animals waiting up ahead to say hi to us. I think I spoke too soon, though. If you look above this watering hole, there is a black rhino up there. There's actually a second one napping up here too. And these black rhino have no natural predators. Their only threat is us humans, and unfortunately due to poaching, there's about 10,000 in the world today. This is a huge accomplishment though. Just less than 10 years ago, there was only about 5,000, but thanks to programs like those funded by the Disney Conservation Fund, we were able to revive the black rhino population and actually reintroduce them into the wild once again. If you look on top of the hill to our right here, there's a couple different types of antelope. Now the orangey ones are bongos. They are nicknamed the ghosts of the forest because they are so good at camouflage that they are hardly ever seen. The more lightly colored antelope up there are greater kudu. They're all female, and I can tell just because they don't have any horns. Males typically have horns that reach about 6 foot in height. You will find horns on both male and female bongo though that also sit back pretty low on their heads. That just helps them deflect any branches and maneuver the brush the forest a little bit easier. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not seeing any other animals out here. They're definitely doing a good job at camouflaging in right now. So I'm gonna say we start making our way out of the forest and over to our second destination of the safari today, which is going to be the Safi River. Now Safi River tends to be home to some more aquatic animals that we can find on the reserve. One of the most notable being the Nile hippopotamus. Hippos are going to be among the largest and most dangerous animals that we can find in Africa. However, they like to spend a lot of their time in or under the water. They can actually hold their breath and stay underwater for up to 8 minutes at a time. So when we get over here, make sure that you're keeping a close watch on the rivers. We're going to learn a lesson pretty early on here in the reserve though, and that's that the animals always get the right of way. I think we have lots of animals crossing through the road up ahead, which is why we're slowed down. But it is their homes, like we said, when we cross the road. We always want them to do so, so do appreciate everyone's patience here. Moving poly-poly, which is sweet lever very slowly into the Safi River. And if you look at the back right corner, there are a couple of hippos. They're just sleeping right now. Hippos are nocturnal animals. Typically, they're going to sleep under the water like that. They naturally know when to rise up to the surface and grab a breath of air. A little bit easier to see are all these large grayish whitish birds. Those are pink-backed pelicans. Pink-backed pelicans get their name from the pink spot that appears on their back during their mating season. It's kind of like they're blushing at one another. Birds like pink-backed pelicans are what we call an indicator species. Since most birds can fly, it's pretty easy for them to move around. So they tend to be some of the first to leave if something is wrong with their environment, and that will serve as one of the first indications an area may not be as healthy as it could be and needs our help. Show of hands, is anyone's first safari by chance? Yeah? Oh, lots of you. Well, I promise this happens all the time where we get stopped and slow down for animals in the road. And welcome back everyone else. We do appreciate your patience. It's always a great time though. If y'all have any questions, feel free to shout them out. I am more than happy to answer any questions as best as I can. A few more pink-backed pelicans over here, and another river coming up to our left. There's a whole Komodo hippo is much easier to see, and they mostly like to be sleeping as well. Hippos actually evolved to have their ears, eyes, and nose all kind of at the top of their heads. That way, while they are asleep like that, they hardly have to breach the surface and grab the air that they need. Can we make sure everyone's fully seated, please? Kids can be in your laps, like I can be completely seated. Thank you. These hippos are also very important to their ecosystems, but they are what we call a keystone species. A keystone species is essentially any animal so critical that their environment and everyone else who lives there would not be able to survive without them. They're basically like the glue that holds the place together. So if we can conserve keystone species like hippos, we can actually help to ensure the protection of other animals as well, and not really have to try too much harder. And I think that we do have some other animals to meet over here, right behind these waterfalls. There's some Nile. Months at a time without ever eating. However, when they do eat, they can eat up to half of their body weight in a single feeding. And they're not going to be very picky eaters either. They are what we call an opportunistic hunter. That means that they would rather take an easy meal over a good meal. So unlike their prey, they actually have to go hunt and work for to capture. They are much more likely just to eat anything that they find lying around, which could be our trash. That's why it's really important that we don't litter. Otherwise, it may end up in the animals' homes and they can mistake it as their food. Alright, now we are heading over to the savannah. And I can always tell by the baobab tree on our right. That tree is nicknamed the Tree of Life, and it's going to get that nickname from its ability to store thousands of gallons of water just inside of its trunk. It has a very spongy interior, so it kind of can just soak all of that water up. And like we were saying, it typically means that we are heading into the savannah, which does tend to be home to some of Africa's most iconic animals. I will say we are never quite sure of who we're going to find here though, as it largely varies, just depending on their sleep and migration patterns. I already saw a few giraffe kind of peeking their head out, and we'll definitely loop around and grab a closer look at them. Now giraffes have a very large impact on the savannah just because they have those really long necks. That allows them to eat the leaves up high off the trees other animals typically cannot reach. Not only will this keep the trees healthy, it also creates the gaps that allow for sunlight to flow through. And giraffe are going to spend majority of their day eating those tree leaves just to help them support their very unique digestive systems. Giraffes are what we call a ruminant, and a ruminant is going to be any animal with a 4-chambered stomach. For all 4 of those chambers to work together properly, they have to be constantly in use, and that's why if you see a giraffe, they are almost always eating. Giraffe are the largest ruminant. They're also going to be the mammals with the highest blood pressure, and as you can probably guess, the tallest animals in the world. Fully grown giraffe are heads of 18 to 20 feet tall, and they're about as tall as 6 foot from the moment that they're born. I also see some wildebeest, zebras, and antelope here. Like I said, we'll look around, grab a close look at everyone. Now those animals belong to a broader group of animals that have a very big impact on the landscape. They're what we call grazers. Grazers are essentially anyone who acts kind of like a lawnmower, constantly eating the grass. But they are going to be what leads to a lot of the low grassy areas that allow us to see throughout the entire savannah so clearly, and a very large part of the reason why the savannah tends to get the nickname of the grasslands. I want to head out to this area on the left here. It is a very popular hangout spot for animals, and around this time of day, we typically find a pack of painted dogs roaming around, so we'll see if anyone's home right now. And it looks like they are. A couple of them over there, a few more napping. Now these guys aren't very territorial animals, they're actually pretty social. Typically we're going to see them hang out in packs of 5 to even 15 dogs at a time. They are going to grab their parent. And these are all going to be Maasai giraffe here. You can tell Maasai is from a subspecies of giraffe just by looking at the pattern of their coat. Maasai giraffe tend to have spots with more of an irregular and jagged pattern. It almost looks like a jigsaw puzzle. A few more animals coming up ahead here on our right too. We got some wildebeest, this really large tan antelope, which is going to be an eland. Now in comparison to a lot of the animals that we're finding out here today, the eland population really isn't suffering too much. This is largely due to the fact that about half the elands in the world live on protected land through Harambe Wildlife Reserve. That's why it's really important that we set aside areas like this to help those populations thrive and grow. The smaller antelope all the way on top of the hill there are springbok. They are the national animal of South Africa, also found in the top 10 fastest land animals. When frightened or excited, they can leap up to 6 feet in the air or 13 feet forward. They can jump up and forward together as well if they want to, and if they do, it's called pronking. Now we're reaching a bit of a fork in the road here, however, I think that we're going to head over to our left. There's a lot of trees knocked down this way, and it's a really good indication that there may be some elephants nearby. Elephants tend to act kind of like the bulldozers of the savannah. They're going to knock down trees in their path because it helps them more easily eat the bark and leaves off of it. They're just big herbivores. It's kind of like a vegetarian. They just look for all the plants they can find to get their food and nutrients that way. So it definitely looks like an elephant has made their way over here. We'll keep moving along to see if we have any luck in finding them. There's a lot of trees knocked down on our right here, so I'm guessing that must have been the area that they passed through. I will say too, sometimes on our left we see monkeys, more specifically mandrills, the largest monkey in the world, but they also love to hide out in the bushes when it's really hot like this. Don't see any mandrills. I do see the elephant though. Now when male elephants fully mature, they often leave big family groups to either hang out in solitude, or occasionally we do see them form a smaller bachelor groups of other males. The reason that they do this is just because those larger family groups, elephants like to live in a matriarch. That means the females are going to be the ones in charge. The oldest female in the herd will remember information like migration patterns and nearby food and water sources. She's going to pass that knowledge down from one leader of the herd to the next, and it's one of the reasons why elephants are known for their incredible memories. Another thing elephants like to use those really great memories for, though, is actually just to help them remember the location of bees. Elephants are really, really afraid of bees. They don't like the vibrations that the buzzing gives off. It freaks them out. It kind of hurts their ears. They'll actually go as far as to warn nearby elephants to stay away from an area with bees in it because it's way too scary. And they have those amazing memories, so they often remember to stay away from that place for years. And this information actually was incredibly useful in research regarding elephant conservation. Elephants are unfortunately suffering from habitat loss, which is going to push them closer and closer to human civilization, and it's causing lots of issues for farmers. Farmers are finding that elephants are coming onto their farms and destroying their crops, and they needed a way to start safely deterring these elephants. So they put some beehives on their farms, and it worked to scare the elephants away. It was a great solution as well. It provided a new habitat for bees who also suffer from habitat loss. And as a little bit of an added bonus, the farmers got some new pollinators for their crops and some money that they could sell if they wanted. So it kind of was a win for everyone that was involved. Alright, now we're past Medicine Red Clay Pits, which can explain why we saw the elephant so close by. If you look over to your right, there's going to be test mark indentations in the clay where an elephant was taken through it a bit earlier on, and more elephants over here on our left. Elephants like to eat red clay because the minerals in it help them supplement their diet. It's basically an elephant multivitamin. More specifically, what that red clay is going to do is actually helps them with their bowel movements, but this makes them great pollinators. Now, I know you typically don't think of someone as large as an elephant as being a pollinator, but I promise you that they are. It's mainly because they are a very migratory species. That means that they're moving all over. They're eating all those plants like we talked about a little bit earlier on, which means that they have to go to the bathroom everywhere, but it's actually a really great thing. Because when they do, they're laying already fertilized seeds, and that helps their plants to grow everywhere that they go. Now, one thing I noticed while these elephants are doing is that they are flapping their ears. Lots of elephants like to do that to help themselves stay cool. They can actually decrease their body temperature by about 15 degrees just by flapping their ears. They also all seem to have a lot of dirt on their back. Lots of elephants like to use their prehensile trunk to fling dirt, mud, sand, grass, hay, really whatever they can find up onto their heads and backs. This acts like a natural sunblock for them since they have super, super sensitive skin. Sometimes if it's raining, we actually find that an elephant will go for a swim and completely submerge themselves in water. That just helps them to protect their skin against the harshness of any raindrops. These are really great looking elephant there. Really showing off that prehensile trunk to us. It's almost waving high. More animals to see here too as we head just around the river bend. There is a whole flamboyance of flamingos. And a flamboyance is what you call a group of flamingos. These are greater flamingo, which are going to be the tallest and lightest pink of all flamingo species. They get their pink color from their diet. It's very rich in a compound called beta-carotenes. And flamingos eat a lot of brine shrimp, which is abundant in beta-carotene. Now, any smaller birds there with more of a grayish or whitish color to them are actually just baby flamingos or flaminglets who haven't eaten enough brine shrimp yet to develop that vibrant pink color that we all know them for. Typically takes about 2 years to fully develop. Yeah, she was just hiding. I want to say it's either 7 or 8 months right now. I know it's more than 6 months, less than a year. Lots of good signs of animal activity here. There's a big mud wallow on our left, which is basically just that mud pool in the ground. As the animals like to come over to the mud wallow to sleep in, hang out in, or just sort of roll around in the mud to help them stay cool. Don't see those animals at the moment, but there are some ostriches down there on our right. They are the largest birds and fastest animals on 2 legs, and they're thought to be so fast because they only have 2 toes. We'll definitely move on over that way, so hopefully y'all can grab a better look at that. As we head over there, though, I start keeping close watching any shadows you see coming up on our left because cheetahs often hang out over here. I think I see someone laying down right now. There's kind of this gap on the hill without any trees. She's laying down right in the center there. If you look at the tree on the far left, too, there's also a cheetah laying down at that trunk. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals, reaching speeds of 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. However, they cannot stay at that speed for very long, and it's going to take them quite a while to catch their breath and recover after a run. Cheetahs are also a little unique to most big cats. They prefer to go out and do their hunting during the day, and they find that there is less competition then. Also, unlike most cats in general, they don't have fully retractable claws. They're going to use their claws in a very similar way that we would use a pair of cleats. It kind of helps them with heat traction. Just like your common house cat might do though. Cheetahs don't purr, they don't roar, they're what the big cats do. They actually don't even have the ability to roar, even if they'd want to. Now we are making our way over to this really tall rock formation. This is called a copy. Copies are popular spots for predators like lions to hang out. And serves as a great vantage point for them to look down over their prey. That lion doesn't have the copy right now. A little surprised to say she's awake. They are nocturnal animals, typically sleep about 16 to 20 hours during the day. The reason that they do this is because their vision is 6 times better at night. So females like to go out and hunt then. Males typically stay back to cover the copy and any cubs that may be there. There are some white rhinos coming up here on our right as well. Actually, I have one of the babies, or more like a toddler at this point. Regardless, we do have a few younger white rhinos out here on the reserve. Make sure we're all seated, please. Fully seated. Even kids, gotta be on a seat. And these younger rhinos are so exciting because these beautiful creatures are unfortunately often poached for their horns. They are thought to have some medicinal value in humans, makes them extremely valuable on the black market, but nothing has been scientifically proven. There's that lioness walking over to us here. That male lion's up ahead. Looks like she's finding a cozy rock. Probably gonna go to sleep here pretty soon. I think we're just gonna let these two rest. It is the middle of the afternoon after all. Head around the copy here. Some warthog burrows coming up to our left, so start keeping our eye out for any warthogs. There they are by the tree. They're the same family as domesticated pigs and often like to reuse burrows made by other animals, make some great recyclers. Typically, they're hanging out in their burrows. When they're in there, they're going to back into it with their heads sticking out. This allows them to scan the area for any potential predators that may be near. Here's a close look at some rhinos. I think they're eating some hay right now. They can see the ostrich back there again, too. That's a female ostrich, and I can tell just because her feathers are gray. Males typically have black, or at the very least darker colored feathers, and the females are a bit smaller overall as well. Their nest is actually just coming up over here on the right, behind the tree and rock that's closest to the path. And I think that we're in luck. If you take a look at the ground, there is a whole bunch of eggs. Now, an ostrich isn't super concerned with guarding those eggs because they are very, very strong. So strong, in fact, that if only grown adult human can stand on top of one of them and it would not one. Here we can find the warden's post, and it looks like the warden may have let some of their friends out to say hi to us. Hanging out in the front yard, there's a bunch of Nigerian dwarf goats. Now, I know that they are going to look small, but I promise you that they're all fully grown Nigerian dwarf goats. This is as big as they are going to get. And I know these goats are really good to look at, but I do want to take a moment and point out the yellow triangle thing in the warden's front yard. That's a bee fence that we use in the Elephant and Bees project that we talked about a bit earlier on, because we did conduct some of the research for that project right here on the reserve. One piece of that, though, that we never did talk about is why these elephants are even suffering from habitat loss in the first place, and the actual effect by a few other animals we've seen out here today as well. This has to do with mining for an element called coltan, and I guarantee that we all have coltan on us right now. It's going to be found in a majority of electronics like our smartphones. However, coltan doesn't go bad, so we can help just by making sure that we are properly recycling our electronics when we are done with them. That way we can actually take that coltan out and reuse it in new electronics, and hopefully don't have to mine in these animals' homes for it as often, or maybe even anymore. That can be fairly simple to do as well with internet searching and finding local electronic drop-off locations, bringing all of your old devices